tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So I'm not quite sure what kind of information you have received, but Ratasiaro asked me to share my experience in the UK. So this is about my kind of life and study in the UK. And this is just kind of give you information, especially kind of travel to the West or Western countries as well. And so this is just a very kind of it's weird talking about myself. It's weird talking about myself, and this is very new experience. So I'm kind of trying to scratching my head, as you can see, and think about what to say. But what you will see a lot here in this presentation is a lot of photos. I'm actually doing this talk again for the staff tomorrow as well in Burmese. So maybe tomorrow the focus will be slightly different, but here I would like to also give you some background in terms of social history as it were, because we can learn quite a lot by looking at one's biography. I mean, now I'm talking about my biography, so so you can see here the title of the talk is Education, Education, Education. I think this one will become a little bit clearer once we get to the end. So let's just look at the beginning. The beginning means where I started my education. So you can see here my hometown. My hometown is Pyi, or Prong. It was called Prong before. And this is where we are, Taunggyi. So you can see. And that's where I had my primary education as well. So my father and my parents, they settled there before I was born. I wasn't born there. I was born in Yangon, but we then I grew up in Pyi. And Pyi is very well known in terms of Sirikritya, so the Pyi period. And when we look at history of Buddhism in Myanmar, Pyi period is very much predominant and it's very important. And the Pyi site has been now registered at World Heritage Site. So around that area I grew up. And this is also a famous pagoda in Pyi, so Shui Sando. And it also has a rich history in terms of how it was came about, and not only through kind of written history, because we also can find inscriptions and things like that there, but also through oral history. So this pagoda is very much kind of rich in terms of oral history and how in Myanmar society they think about Buddhism in Myanmar. So this also play an important role. And this is a Google map of my primary school. So what I had was very much kind of state education. So I went to Mula Ranjang, what we call Mula Ranjang. So it's basic education run by state. And then in addition to that, there's so this is a primary school, and then I went to kind of high school only for a few months in the what we call high school. Yes, high school number 1. So this is here. This is the high school that I went to for a few months. And then what happened was, and then I moved to Yangon, from Pyi to Yangon. I went there because my sister, she ended up going to Yangon University. So, she went to Yangon, and I also followed her, and then I attended this, what we call Kamayutne. So it's one of the townships state school. Actually, it was, I don't know the full history of this school, but it was founded in 58. And it was attached to St. Augustine's Catholic Church. So it was during the colonial period, I think it was very much associated with the church. And so it has a good reputation for education. But still, it was, what we learned was very basic, subjects that we are all familiar with, some of us are familiar with. The point here is that so I moved around, and then I was staying there for three years. And opportunity came up to go to England. My family just asked, okay, my uncle is going, so do you want to go and study in the UK? And then guess what? I said, yes. I said yes. I was only kind of, very young, early in my, teenage years, and I didn't really kind of know where the UK was or England and the kind of thing, but if I remember correctly, I said to my father, okay, why do I have to go to England? And he said, well, if you go to England, then you can get good education, and the degree that you get from England, you can use it anywhere in the world. So you can take the degree certificate and you can go and work in any countries. So that's what he said, and I was like, okay, I will go. So I kind of went with my uncle's family, and so off I went to Wolverhampton. Okay, so the year that I went to the UK, it was, I don't know if you remember, if any of you remember, it was Visit Me My Year. Visit Me My Year. the year that the government actually opened up and welcomed all the international visitors. That's the year that I went. I think also Seattle, he went in early 90s, so 93 or something like that, a few years before I left. And so this is very much also telling us a social history, because this is the logo that they chose at that time. So Visit Myanmar logo. And I when you go to Yangon, and as you come out from Yangon International Airport, there's now a big billboard, right? If I remember correctly, this logo was there. And it was there for many years. And here, when I left Yangon, the airport was like this. So it's very much, this is international airport, which is, totally has transformed. This is domestic side. So you can see here, it's very much, you're in a different world, okay? You're in a different world. Going back to the kind of preparation, you might ask, okay, what kind of preparation did you have before you go off to the UK? I didn't have any preparation except a few months of studying English. At that time, if you remember, I think Xiale and a few others may know that they did not have that, we didn't have so many English classes and all the training centers. We had Winster, the KMD and Winster and others for computing. They just started, and so I stopped going to to school just after my 7th grade. I did not attend 8th grade. Instead, what I did was I spent a few months working on English and computing. And then I went to the UK. So at that time, I still remember the flight that I took. It was Ava Airline, so one of the Chinese airlines, and
it's called EVA.
AVA, yeah. And it was a transit through Domang. So it was still Domang transit, and I can still remember the kind of problems and things like that, but very vaguely during the transit, because I got tummy upset at that time. So that was really, really uncomfortable. And then I ended up so we landed at London Heathrow, and it was very late. And then my uncles and my aunt, they drove us, the whole family. So I went along with my cousins and so forth, all the way up to Wolverhampton. That's the town that my uncles, where he worked as a psychiatrist. So when he started, he was working as kind of junior doctors, as it were. And at that time, in the UK, the government actually kind of opened up its door to a lot of skilled workers. So bringing quite a lot of doctors from Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, and so forth. So we were kind of second wave of migration to the UK. The first one occurred in the 70s, so 75 and up to 80s and things like that. So we were second wave of migration that happened to the UK. And Wolverhampton, do you know, does anyone know where, have you heard of this name? Wolverhampton. Does anyone? Well, yes, now I'm asking all the monks. So I assume you don't watch football. Yes, football. It's Wolves. They ended up in Premiership League a few years ago. I don't think they are there anymore. I don't know because I don't follow football. But at least they are in Division 1, so which means that they are doing okay. And this is a kind of professional. This is one of the towns in what we call Midlands, because Midlands is very well known for its kind of industrial production. So when the UK introduced this kind of industrial revolution, Midlands, or another name is Black Country. We call it Black Country because of the coal mines as well as all the factories and things like that. So that's where I ended up in, so Wolverhampton, and this is the name of because I didn't have any English. I had 7th grade English. So you can see that I didn't go beyond ABC when I arrived there. And so what happened was I ended up attending primary school there for about less than 6 months. And this is the name of the primary school. So Woolton Primary School. Primary and nursery school. They had nursery as well. And Woolton, because the school is in a nice kind of village, what they call village area. It's just outside suburb, in just a suburb of Wolverhampton. But it attracted, or it still attracts, students from ethnic minority groups. So what we have is we have a lot of students from South Asian, so from India, Pakistan, or Pakistani background and Indian backgrounds, as well as Africa, so black community. And that is still the case. And you can, I want to show you this picture because I just downloaded it from the internet today, and it's we had a nursery here when I was attending this school, but now it's being kind of replaced with this building. But this is the building that I had my lessons, and it stayed the same. And another thing that I want to show you is this one. The reason I put it there, do you know why I put children's book there? Yes. I vaguely remember reading something about monkeys, but I don't remember what that was. I don't recall the series name, but it was because I had very little English. The teachers, they said, okay, I had what they call support, special support teachers, where he came and we spent 3 times a week reading on these kind of very elementary or nursery kind of books, and it was. I vaguely remember about monkeys, but I don't remember. I've been trying to find the name of the series. Anyway, you get the picture. And so that's where I spent about 6 months there. And it was very much kind of, I didn't understand anything, I have to say. But it was, I had to have exams after 6 months. And I did okay in the test. So they test you like science and maths and English. Those were the 3 main subjects. I did okay. And then I went to secondary school there. Secondary school, which is next door actually, very convenient. It's called the King's CE School. CE stands for Church of England. So another kind of Christian school, and we did all kinds of things. It was actually kind of very fun because yes, we had to do things like maths and science, geography, history, and English. The foreign language, so I took up French, and then in addition I did technology, so kind of very, it's like here as well, but woodwork and things like that, and also cooking, food technology, and the education system is such that you cover quite a lot of subjects from year 7 until year 11. So you do quite a lot of things. And you also do a big exam at the end of year 9. So you still do that. For those who goes to international school, they have to do that here as well. And year 9, year 10 and year 11, this is called GCSE. And then, so I ended up studying many different subjects. At the beginning, like I said, it's, even in the primary school and secondary school, we call this secondary school. secondary school, the first 1 year or so it was just yes and no, in terms of language. And then the teacher would ask a question, and then I would say yes or no, because I didn't kind of have this ability to communicate. So this is about picking up language. It was difficult. And then I also had support teacher from my English teacher, who's very, very very English, in that he would sit down with me during lunchtime, and we would read through, and he would correct my pronunciation and things like that. And do you know what he said? He said that however long you're going to stay in the UK, you won't sound like English. So that's a kind of encouragement. But what he meant was, because my tongue has been set, so I won't sound, English at all. And I don't sound English at all. But he because there are certain sounds that my tongue is not used to. However much I would practice, it's not there. So that's what he said. But he meant it very nicely. He said it in a nice way. But he also inspired me, because he's the kind of person who talks about philosophy. He was kind of telling me, or telling the class, about Plato and all the philosophers from ancient Greek and really profound thinkers and things like that. So even with very limited language, English language, I became interested in philosophy. I tried to read Plato and things like that, because you can actually borrow books from the library, which actually is written for our age. So it wasn't like thick books. It was kind of Plato in simple terms. Do you know what Plato is? Who Plato is or was?
Student of Socrates.
Student of Socrates, yes. Yes, teachers of Aristotle, yes. So a long line of Greek philosophers, and I became interested in that. But however much I tried to read, I could only understand very, very little. But still, there was this kind of hunger for knowledge as well. So I tried to read as much as I could. Another important teacher who actually kind of helped me with my study was my maths teacher. His name is Mr. Mazunda. He's an Indian, and he's a kind of very patient person. The King's CE school is very well known for its reputation for being very bad at academic performance. So it's below national average school. So in Myanmar we would call it Yakatjang, because it's just one of those schools that attracted a lot of students from again, ethnic minority communities. My cousin and I, we were the only kind of two Chinese, because we have Chinese blood, Chinese students who were at the school. The others, they were like, I would say, 30% or 35% is from Asian communities, so India, or Pakistani background. Another 30 from black communities, and then only 20 or 30% from white backgrounds. So it was very, very mixed, which you can actually see here. So this is one of the school photos that we took. I don't quite remember whether it was at the end of year 11. I think it was year 11. So at the end of GCSE. Can you well, I'm going to show you because you can't see. So me is here. Yes. Yes, it was kind of the whole year. The whole year came together, and we took a school year photo in the assembly hall. So that's the kind of normal standard. You can see here, she's the PE teacher. So physical education. We have to do sports every day, and he was our chemistry teacher. English teacher, I don't quite remember what they taught, but yes, I'm still in touch with a few of them through Facebook. And what I also want to show you or share with you is these are some of my teachers. So Mrs. Lowbridge, she was the kind of A-level teacher, and also she taught IT. And then she's Mrs. Badger. She taught food technology, so cooking. And Mrs. Quickly, at first she started out as English support teacher. So she support the students in terms of English. So because we have had, and we still have, many students whose language is not English, the native language is not English. And then she's my French teacher, Mrs. Sutherland. So I'm still in touch with these teachers through Facebook, even now. I was trying to find another important teacher for me, Miss Cook. She taught us biology from year 7 until I left school. And she's the one who encouraged me to apply to Oxford and Cambridge. Although I didn't apply at Cambridge, so I only apply Oxford. What normally happens is at the end of A-level, or just before at the end of A-level, you have to apply to various universities. And after you finish your first year of A-level, which is now called AS level, then you start applying to various universities through centralized system. Oxford and Cambridge, you have to apply very early. So at least 1 month earlier than the other universities. Usually they close their application in mid-October. The others, they will close around November, end of November, something like that. So I was like looking around, and I didn't kind of think about applying to Oxford at all. I was trying various places, including Manchester, to do mathematics. But this teacher, she said, okay, now it would be stupid if you don't apply to Oxford. So that's what she said, and I was like, okay, let me try. And what happened was, Mrs. Lowbridge, she actually went with me to the university, to Oxford, just to show me around, because I got shortlisted. I applied, and it was there was also another kind of voice, which one of the teachers said that, why are you applying to Oxford? You won't get it. That's what she said. I was like, okay, it doesn't matter if I don't get it, but I will get the experience of applying to such university. But anyway, so Mrs. Lowbridge, she came with me and she showed me around the university and so forth. And then I ended up I got an interview. But before I talk about that, I just want to show you some art. I draw and I paint. I did a lot of that for my GCSE and A-level. So you can see here. This is just a few examples of my artwork. I had a lot. We had to have a portfolio and things like that. This is I did this for year 9 or GCSE. I don't remember. This is a dragon. This is with paint dots, so impressionist kind of work. Anyway, so as you can see, we had to do many different things, and there were a lot of not just reading but also practical things. Like I said, I once made a wooden box. I still have it, not in Myanmar, but in Wolverhampton, I think, because I also move around a lot, so I don't know where my things are. I don't know where my things are. Anyway, so I applied, and what you can do is you can actually choose your college, but I didn't do that. I just if the student didn't choose a college, then they would assign a college, and I got into St. Peter's, which is one of the small college, and it was in terms of interview process, because I had applied to do a joint degree program, so economics and management. I had 2 interviews and 1 written exam. One interview at Sai Business School and one at Department of Economics. So 2 interviews, and each student is kind of located or attached to a college, and that's where our home is, basically, because we stay there, we eat there. This is the dining hall. So very, very much kind of traditional. You can see here. Various master of the college is up on the wall, so within the dining hall. The food, so what we had to do was we had to pay for accommodation and food as well. And breakfast, lunch and dinner, so 3 meals. And this is where the community is. And then in terms of following lectures, what you do is you go to a department. So this is Department of Economics. I wish Venerable Kowita was here so that he would know, he can see the office. When I was there, this design is already there. So it has been there for over 15 years. And you can see very much kind of modern look. And you also have offices on this side as well. And this is the entrance to the library, departmental library. So each department has its own library as well. And once you have registered with the university, you can borrow from departmental libraries. So this is Department of Economics. We sometimes go to lectures and tutorials in this building. This one is business school, so Sai Business School. This one is where I learned about management. So you know, and this is where the library is. So reading desk. What you have is you also have books in this room, as well as in other places, and I can't quite remember where the checkout desk is. It might be on this side. I'm not quite sure, but you can see here it has a lot of light and that kind of thing. That's why I wanted to meet with Venerable Kowita and our librarians. And this is where we had our management lectures and tutorials as well. It's very famous, nowadays it's very famous for MBA. So for MBA, you have to pay, for international students, you have to pay thousands of pounds in order to get an MBA from there. And so graduation, BA in economics and management. This is Oxford Buddha Vihara before it moved to the current place. And Sarah was there, but Sarah didn't actually come for the graduation. But Tipitaka Sarah, he came. So you can see here my support group. My family, they couldn't make it at that time. So this is with me and Tipitaka Sarah. This is with, I will show you with PC. For those who know PC. PC, she was she supported me throughout my study as well. And this is the letter that Sarah wrote on the day of my graduation.
29 November 2008.
Yes, yes, yes. So it's I'm not going to read it anyway. I just want to show you this. Another thing is, so when I did my Oxford degree or BA degree, I had to do a lot of reading. And one thing, you know, the teacher that who said, okay, you won't get in, she's right to an extent, in a sense that if you look at the intake, most of them, majority of them are from private school. They are from private school. They get special training to get into Oxford and Cambridge, whereas I didn't. And also in terms of how well a student can cope in Oxford and Cambridge system, it's slightly different. If you are from a private school, then you are more familiar with essay writing and so forth. And so what that means is you are more likely to do better and easier if you are from a private school. And because I came from a state school, and English is my second language, so it was a lot of struggle. So in my first year, I ended up reading many long hours. So I only slept for, say 5 hours or something like that. And then the other times I would just read and read and read. So it was not, again, it was a struggle, but I did okay. In the second, after first year, I took I didn't take 1 year out. My mother got diagnosed with cancer, so in my second year, she was receiving treatment. At the end of the second year, I took 1 year out to look after my mother. And then so my degree ended up in a 4th year kind of way because I took 1 gap year. And then you might ask, how did I end up in a Buddhist studies? Because when I was doing my final exams at Oxford, there was a lot of stress, and also I was I didn't know, but I wasn't coping well in terms of grief as well, losing my mother. Anyway, so I struggled, and then I did my exams, and then I thought, okay, I better meditate. So I came back and I meditated in Taunggyi for I think for quite a while, and then that's when I started following a lot of practice, doing a lot of meditation. I went back after the graduation. Or just before the graduation, I asked Rata Siaro whether I could do MA in Buddhism, and he said, okay, you could apply to SOAS. So I applied to SOAS and doing Buddhist studies, and then that was the same year where scholarship monks from Myanmar, from ITBMU, and also from Sitagu. So we were in the same batch. They got into SOAS. We were in the same class. Pomong came out. He's now back in ITBMU. Whenever Janaka, he goes back and forth between Yangon and UK. This is my aunt, uncle, and aunt. Again, my family, they couldn't make it to my graduation. And this is kind of graduation hall. Very simple. I've got more pictures, but very simple one. So it, yes. Just a brief note, side note, but relevant one is when I started my application to this degree, in my personal statement, I said that, explicitly said that, it would be quite challenging for me to study Buddhism from an academic point of view, because I come from, I'm a Buddhist, so at that time, acknowledging that difficulty, I think it kind of helped, because what I now see amongst our students as well as in general is that this kind of how can I offer academic analysis while at the same time being a Buddhist. So that's the dilemma that everyone faces if you are from a Buddhist background. And so by acknowledging that, even at the very beginning, I think it helped me. And was able to kind of stay now. I can still find it very helpful if I remember that at the challenge in my mind. And then I move straight onto doing PhD. So my supervisor, Kate Crosby, said that, okay, if you don't get over 65, there's no way that you're going to do PhD generally. But luckily I got over 70, so I got in and I did my PhD. I started out at SOAS. Partway through, it so happened that Kate moved to King's. So I ended up moving to King's, and that's why I got PhD from King's. And here, by this time, at King's, I was also a member of a staff, the teaching staff. So I was on the stage already. So you could actually, if you are a faculty member, you can go and participate and represent your department at graduation ceremony. So I was here, put there. And I don't remember who gave me this certificate and so forth, but it's very simple. This is what we call a Barbican Center. So it's not even on campus. It's in a different place. And it was during winter, so it was raining outside. By the time that I left, it was horrible, cold and wet. And In terms of PhD study, what can I say? A lot of reading. I could say that. A lot of reading and a lot of. At the beginning, I didn't really know how my thesis would pan out. So you have to have an open mind when you started out your PhD program. I knew that I'm working on Patana, but apart from that, I did not know how it would lead to and the kind of the shape of the thesis. But it's okay. It will come to as you work more and more and as you read more and more, you will begin to see the kind of the structure of the thesis and so forth. But that was the case. Again, my family, they couldn't make it. Or rather, my dad, he said that no, he's not going to come. It's very difficult for him to fly all the way out to the UK. I understand. And then just to kind of share a final point, it's the teaching. Okay, so as I was finishing my PhD in the final year, I started teaching first at SOAS and then later at King's. And so overall in the UK I taught for 5 years. I still teach there now, even now when I go there. It just that it will be special lectures and things like that. The kind of this is a group presentation that the students they do, and it's a group presentation. It was second year of BA students in their second year. And then sometimes we take them out to Buddhist temples. So they went to Thai temple. And then they also they also meditated and so forth. So we arrange various trips. This is part of their education and their course syllabus. And another thing is we have visitors, visiting lecturers as well. So this is the author of Monk and Magic book, the one that we have up here in our library. He specializes in Thai Buddhism, and he's an anthropologist. So he can speak fluent Thai and so forth. We invited him to teach on this course, and you can see here Dr. Jotika Kunyan. He also attended the class. This was MA students for Buddhist art program, MA in Buddhist art and conservation. And then this scholars, Janice, she sadly passed away a few months ago. She was based in Cambridge, and she specializes in Pyi. So she wrote so many works on Pyi, so you can see it's a very lively kind of environment for Buddhist studies at King's. We overall, when I started teaching there, or when Kate and I started teaching there in 2013, we only had like 45 students taking Buddhist study modules. By the time that I left, we ended up having like almost 100 or more, so over a 3-year course. So you can see it's a very, very popular modules, Buddhism or Buddhist studies, and they are very keen in terms of learning. These students, after their degree, they go into all kinds of professions, career. Some go to NGO, so NGO work. Some move into law, so some are planning to go into international law because they have this kind of very rich background about religions, philosophy, and various things. So, and some becomes teachers as well. So it's a very wide range of professions that you can get from this kind of degree. Usually they are on philosophy degree or religions degree. I don't think they offer PPE. So this is the kind of environment that I ended up kind of teaching, and they are very bright as well. So most of them they come from state school, but some actually came from private school as well. At King's, you have to have a good grades in order to get into these kind of program. Although it's not as high as Oxford and Cambridge requires 3 A's, 3 straight A's at your A level. So that's all I wanted to say today. Just to go back to the point about language, okay? So I think it took me about 5 years or a little bit more than 5 years in order to be able to communicate properly as well as write in a kind of an okay way. So language is a you need time. And going back to the point, the motivation point why I left Myanmar, well, to get education. So I got my education. I got my education after more than 20 years, and then with that I came back, and then I got involved in this project. One thing that this is kind of personal, but I would like to share with you is when I was finishing my PhD. I think it was after my submission, and I was waiting for my viva, or just after my viva, I don't quite remember. Oh no, it was before that, even before viva, or even before submission. What I wanted to do was I wanted to establish a university in Myanmar. And at one point, I went to Retta Siaro, and I said that, Siaro, I want to establish a university in Myanmar. And I said that. Not only that, in one of my applications for, because I applied to do another MA as I was finishing my PhD, in that application I also said that I want to establish a university in Myanmar. So you can see why I get very much motivated here because this is one thing that I want to do, wanted to do and still want to do. So you can see why this is very important to me. SSBU is very important to me, you know. And Seattle, he didn't mention that he got this plan when I went and told him. He didn't mention it. Maybe he forgot to mention it. He forgot to mention it to me. Anyway, but here we are. Okay. Yeah, if you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer. So I ended up kind of spending a lot of time in the library. That's why I did well in my exams. Is that you have to be in the community in order to be able to understand the local and relate to them. And that, I think, is an important aspect in terms of missionary work. I'm sure. Thank you very much. I hope this was useful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Shall we recite Buddha Sasana? Buddha Sasana Jiran Daitatu. Buddha Sasana Jiran Daitatu. Buddha Sasana Jiran Daitatu. Sadhu, sadhu.
Now we are taking the language skill. We are learning the high level. We still need the language skill. If you face